that Woojin wanted 40 million instead of 4 million and he does not have that much money right now. He thinks that since his savings would fall short, he might have to take a loan. He thinks that it would be better if he could plead with Woojin to waive the loan. But Woojin turns back and says that he really hated backstabbers. Songgu is scared now as he thinks refusing to pay would count as betraying him and says that he would prepare the money soon enough. Woojin leaves him saying that he would be waiting for him to contact him. But as Woojin leaves, Songgu overthinks and makes another wrong assumption. What if Woojin wanted 400 million won? But Woojin has already gone to the next place he planned to visit, the shop where he bought his new phone. The salesman is standing in the shop when Woojin enters and lifts the man by his collar. Before the salesman can speak anything, Woojin starts slapping him. The man is too terrified to try and save his life. He wonders if this was what they meant by indiscriminate violence that everyone talked about nowadays. He feels that if he does not play it right, he was going to die. The salesman begs Woojin to spare his life and he drops him on the ground. Woojin tells him that he hated backstabbers and those who lied to him. But the salesman does not recognize Woojin and says that he doesn't even know him. Woojin shows him the phone and says did he remember the man he sold this phone to. The salesman can now remember everything clearly. He had sold that phone to a loser who knew nothing about mobile phones. The same man was standing in front of him right now, and he was really scary. Woojin's way to deal with the salesman works and he gets a new phone in exchange for the old one. He can tell that the new phone was different and worked a lot smoother. Woojin transfers all the contacts he had into the new phone, but there are only 5 contacts. 2 of them are the wrong number Yeeman gave him and the salesman. He thinks that if the salesman had done something like this to him on Alphen, he would have torn his limbs apart. But as he is happily going back to Yeeman's place with his new phone, Woojin sees that he is surrounded by people dressed in black suits. They ask him if he was Kang Woojin, who had recently cleared a 2-star dungeon in a 2-man team. He hears the voice of a woman who says that he must be at least an E rank to clear the dungeon like that. And since all the other members of his party was dead, did he plan to kill them in advance? But anyway, he had guts for a newcomer. Woojin is surprised and asks the woman who she was. She introduces herself as Leonie, the captain of the main team of the Hwarang Guild. Woojin can tell it right away that Leonie was strong. He uses his detect skill to confirm and finds out that she was the strongest person he has met on Earth. He asks her if she wanted anything from him and Leonie says that they had a little problem in one of the dungeons they managed. She says that a rat sneaked into the dungeon and Woojin gets what she meant. She was talking about him entering the dungeon on his first day back on Earth. He laughs at her, saying that if so many people were required to catch a rat, the Hwarang Guild was a very weak guild. He says that was to be expected since the dungeon was nothing special as well. But before he can complete his sentence, one of the men grabs his face and slams his head to the ground. He tells Woojin that a nobody like him did not qualify to speak ill about their guild. This makes Woojin angry and he grabs the man's hand and overpowers him. He is about to hit him when out of nowhere, Leonie kicks him and sends him crashing. Woojin does not have time to catch up with what had happened as he finds the woman standing on top of him again. She lifts her leg and stomps on Woojin's face. He realizes that she was too fast for him and had not even gotten serious yet. Leonie tells him that she would like to give him a piece of advice. Even if he was not a regular F-ranked awakened, it was in his best interest to not pick fights with people stronger than him. He had a creepy ability, but that would not save him from everything. And he should steer clear of the Hwarang Guild at all costs. She leaves with the other people, saying that if he did not follow her advice, he might find himself dead soon. Woojin is surprisingly calm after how easily he was defeated and humbled by the strong woman. He talks to himself, saying that it had been a long time since he was stepped on like this, but he was going to remember her name and her guild. When he goes back and tells Yeeman about what happened, he does not understand why Yeeman reacted so explosively. Woojin calmly asks him if that woman or her guild was so famous. Yeeman asks him how could he not know who she was. She was one of the only 10 rank awakened in the country, and the guild she was in, the Hwarang Guild, was among the top 3 guilds in the country. The other 2 guilds were KH Guild and the Hammer Guild. They were not only powerhouses in terms of fighting, they had great influence over politics and economy as well. Yeeman asks Woojin what did he do to get the negative attention of the Hwarang Guild on his first dungeon visit. But Woojin is annoyed by this question and tells Yeeman that when he gets back his full strength, he would be able to deal with all the people from the Hwarang Guild without any difficulty. Yeeman thinks that Woojin was joking or confused and laughs. But Woojin also realizes that it would be disadvantageous for him to deal with the Hwarang Guild outside the dungeons. His skills as a necromancer were a secret that he would like to keep from the world, and they were already limited outside the dungeon. And then there was the question of how many skeletons he could summon, as he would have to use dead bodies for that. But that can be thought about later. Right now Woojin is in the mood to celebrate. He takes out a bag and gives it to Yeman, saying that it was a gift. Yeman finds that the gift was a luxury perfume and he says that it was too much to pay back for the borrowed money. But Woojin gives him some cash as well, but Yeman is hesitating to accept it. He gets emotional on receiving the gift and thinks that Woojin was really cool and generous. But with that done, Yeman learns that Woojin meant to stay at his place for much longer, and that was what the extra money was for. He asks Woojin wasn't he going to stay with his family from now on, and learns that their house was quite small. Woojin planned to live here until he was able to afford a new one. But then he notices the new phone and asks Woojin when did he buy a new phone and how much did it cost. Woojin is casual and asks Yeman if this model was a good one. Yeman tells him that it was indeed the latest model and a special edition at that. The red casing of the phone was because bloodstones were used to make it, thus making it really expensive. But Woojin says that he got it for free by participating in an event, not telling Yeman what he did with the fraud salesman. But then he receives a notification that shocks him. His account had been credited with 40 million won from Songgu. Woojin is shocked and decides to call Songgu to meet him at once. Songgu comes to meet him in a restaurant and is shocked when Woojin asks him what was the meaning of this. He had asked him for only 4 big ones and he had sent 40 million. Songgu thinks that what Woojin meant was 4 billion and now he was going to be seen as a backstabber. He gets on his knees and asks for forgiveness and promises that he would pay the entire amount in time. The people in the restaurant think that Woojin was a loan shark and he is annoyed by the confusion. Songgu explains to him that he misunderstood and would pay the entire 4 billion in time. Woojin is shocked and thinks that Songgu was an idiot. But then he gets a mischievous idea and thinks that he could use this misunderstanding as a golden opportunity, and asks Songgu how long would he wait then. With this, the first part of the story is over. Woojin has made some friends and now he is thinking of taking unfair advantage of Songgu. What will he do and how will things turn out for him? Let us find out in the next video.